Hey everyone, welcome back. Today we are going to go over a list of prepper pantry items that I feel like everyone should have in their prepper pantry. But first, if you're new here, hi, hello, my name is Tori. We make videos all about preparedness on a budget, and we would love it if you became part of our YouTube family, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. And without further ado, let's get right into this video. Alrighty, so today is going to be a little different. I decided that I was going to try the new trend, which is very unlike me. I typically don't do that, but AI, very new to me, essentially just like a robot that you ask questions to, and I wanted to know their insight on a preparedness pantry, a prepper pantry, and I also wanted to know what they were suggesting for survival. I have a hunch as to who controls all of these things, but you never know. So I thought it would be interesting. I thought it would be an interesting take on a video, and I was very curious myself. So I will go over this list with you. I have it right next to me. That's what I keep looking at. I want to show you how I would store things. I want to show you if this is a good idea or a bad idea to have on your list, especially when you're first starting out. So let's get started with number one. I was pleasantly surprised. Let me read what they told me first. I just asked it to list 10 things that I should be preparing food-wise when it comes to a prepper pantry. So it says, in uncertain times, it's always a good idea to consider stocking up on some essential food items. Here are the top 10 food items to consider for your stockpile. So that sounds great. Number one on the list, it's rice. And I have gotten a crazy amount of comments about rice the last 2 weeks because on July 20th, India, who provides 40% of the world's rice, decided to stop their export. And that was mainly due to a bad crop season. But there are some other rumors flying around as to why they stopped. And so I'm not really going to get into that, but rice. I talk about that a lot on the channel, rice and beans. A lot of people hate on it as a prepper pantry staple because it can be boring, but it is a complete meal, and I personally enjoy rice and beans. If you don't like it, don't stock it. But rice, you can prepare it pretty easily, but you do need water to create it unless you were stocking up on something more short term, and that would be easier to cook, like those Uncle Ben's microwavable rices or something like that. But I like to stock up on dry rice, and India put that ban on non-basmati rices, just so you know. I wanted to factor that in there. But the rice that I like to store, I get from Azure Standard or Sam's Club. They have a really great bulk section. You can get like 50 pounds for a really cheap price. And what I like to do is put it in Mylar, right around 2 to 5 pound bags. Sometimes you could do 10 if you wanted to, but I think of serving when I'm doing rice in Mylar or long-term storage, because I'm not going to pull out 50 pounds of rice and go through it in the event of an emergency. So that's how I like to store my Mylar bags, but that's just me. And then I put it in a 5-gallon bucket with a gamma lid and call it good. Rice is one of those indefinite foods, so I think this is great that they put this on the list, and I think it's great that it's being brought up in today's video, because definitely stock up on rice now, especially with all of the issues that are going on in India. Number two on the list is going to be canned goods. We talk about that on the channel a lot. In fact, my last video included canned items, and again, we talk about aluminum being a shortage, but canned items are made out of steel or aluminum. When I think of canned items now, I think of all of my beautiful water bath pantry items, and that is everything that we are growing and or things that we are getting from local farms that we trust. But they are talking about canned goods. Canned goods like vegetables, fruits, meats are great to have on hand for quick and easy meals. And I agree with that. I really think that you all should stock up on items like that. But also, I would like to throw in some quick meals like soups. They are great, and you can add extra protein, beans, or fresh vegetables to those soups to make them more nutrient dense, or you can add more bulky items like potatoes or quinoa or rice, for instance, and just make it a little bit more filling, and then that will make your meal stretch. So canned items, Tori approved. That's a great one to have on the list. Number three on the list is going to be pasta. Again, we talked about that in the last video that I did because I stocked up on pasta on the cheap. It's great to put in Mylar bags, or you could vacuum seal the air air out of a mason jar, but I honestly think Mylar bags are the best way to go when it comes to pasta. It's super filling. I would suggest not getting enriched pasta, but that's up to you. Number 4 on the list are beans, and I, of course, always have my dried beans on hand. If you're new here, I am in a hub of local bean farmers, and I find that each one has a great option for my household. So we have pinto beans next to us, black beans, we have northern beans, Mayakoba beans, I believe it's how you say it. And that is new to me since I've been in Colorado, but it's great in ham and bean soup. If you are from the East Coast, PA, where my hometown is, that was definitely a PA Dutch staple, ham and bean soup. And then I always tell the story, my dad used to eat the marrow out of the bone. I don't know if any of you do that. I know it's becoming more and more popular. I feel like beans are a great one to have on the list just because they can provide great nutrients to you and they are easy to make into shelf-stable items. Again, this is one of those things that you would need water to make if you're storing it dried. So always have canned beans on hand. Okay, we are switching spots because my air is being super obnoxious. I know, first world problem, but we're in the first world. So I am going off of this list some more. So we went to beans and now the next thing on the list was peanut butter. And I agree with that. Peanut butter is great. It could go rancid quicker than your normal shelf-stable items, but peanut butter is easy to have on hand. However, I would not suggest getting the cheap 99-cent store-bought peanut butter. I would suggest investing in something that just has minimal ingredients. And I talk about ingredients a lot on the channel, but I do feel most of what we're eating and what is put out to us as good and healthy is the opposite. I think it's creating ailments. I think it's making us dependent on big pharma. So I did have to put my little 2 cents in there when it comes to the food that we eat. So peanut butter is great. Just check the ingredients. The next on the list was nuts. And I used to store nuts like a mad woman because I was plant-based and I relied on nuts for certain nutrients. And I will say we still have some on hand, but I don't think that is a necessary Prepper Pantry top 10 item for a variety of reasons. It doesn't store long and you could be prepping other things in place of nuts. Again, your Prepper Pantry, if you want to stockpile a crap ton of nuts, go ahead and do that. But I have a minimal amount and they can be super pricey if you get good nuts. So that's up to you. Again, next on the list is going to be jerky. It said, I don't know, I wouldn't really put this on my list just because I make my own jerky now, first of all, so I can stock meat and make my own. But beef jerky is super expensive once again, especially if you get grass-fed good beef jerky. And I don't feel like it has the best long-term storage solution for you, but beef jerky would be great to put in a bug-out bag. So if you see it in that type of preparedness sense, that's a good one. Next on the list was oats, and I personally really don't like oats just because of the taste, but I think it's a good one to have on your list. Even though I don't like it doesn't mean you shouldn't have it on your list. It is your Prepper Pantry, but oats are great. They have a variety of uses. You can grind them down and make flour. You can make oat milk if you want. I used to be really into oat milk and now I'm kind of against it just because of store-bought oat milk mainly. There's a lot of gums and added seed oils that aren't necessary to put in a milk in my opinion. But if you want to make your own oat milk, that's a good one to have in place of like a shelf-stable milk if you are plant-based. Otherwise, I would just get the powdered shelf-stable milk. But getting back to oats, there's a lot that you can do with it. They're great for you. And yes, I still have some on my Prepper Pantry shelves, but I'm just not a fan. I don't like porridges or anything like that. So it's not my jam, but it's a good one to have on the list. The next one they have on their list is flour, and we talked about that, flour being a shortage coming up here. I have spoken with local farmers in my area. I think it would be important to start stocking flour. So my top 2 go-tos are Azure Standard, and again, Sam's Club, you can get an organic variety, or start stocking up on alternative flours. So there are a lot of different flours out there. There are a lot of ancient grains. I personally love einkorn flour. I got that from Lisa from the blog Farmhouse on Boone. A while back, she started mentioning it, and I really enjoy it. So I really like it on a pizza crust, but that's up to you. Azure Standard, again, has a lot of those flours. You can find einkorn flour at Whole Foods, natural grocers. And then last on the list is sugar, and I feel like that's a great one to have on the list. You can do a lot with sugar. Drop down in the comments your favorite thing to do with sugar. I always like listing one of these things and asking your favorite way to use sugar in your preparedness journey, because there's going to be someone out there that hasn't thought of that idea, which I love reading the comments and seeing what you all do in your prepper pantry. So sugar is a great one to have on hand. We use it a lot in canning, water bath canning, but you can do a lot with it. So don't be afraid of white sugar. I know mainstream media has made it to be this evil thing. Of course, too much sugar is terrible for you, but sugar in moderation is really not that bad for you. I have alternative sugars like honey. I personally love coconut sugar, but that's up to you again. We like to make homemade coffee creamers with that. I should speak for myself. I'm not really a sweets person. If I'm eating a sweet, it's going to be in fruit form. I've just always been that way. When I'm pregnant, however, I love a good slice of chocolate cake. So that is different, but sugar is a great one to have on your prepper pantry. And then I did want to mention, I asked this AI about survival and preparedness, and I just did like a top 5, and I agree with a lot of what they say, but when I ask them about herbal remedies or medicines to stockpile, they can't comment on it because they tell you to consult your doctor, which yes, go do that if you want to do that. But we all know how I feel about pharmaceuticals. If you're new here, I'm totally against them. So I like to solve things holistically, specifically with things that I like to grow in my garden. There are a variety of ways that you can use herbs and flowers to heal and just alleviate some of these ailments that we all have. And I promise you, using these pharmaceuticals, they have their time and place, but it will definitely be a bandage to the problem. It won't completely go away. If anything, it's making it worse. So I personally have experienced a lot of negative effects to pharmaceuticals. I've seen terrible things happen to my children because of it, and I personally am against them. Again, if you use pharmaceuticals for different things, you do you. That is fine. I just personally think that it should be on your prepper pantry shelves, some natural ways to alleviate some of these ailments. I promise you, I have just done a complete 180 in the last couple of years, just factoring out some of these items and swapping them with more natural items. So that is on my list. And then another thing that wasn't on the list, which was kind of a bummer to see, were seeds, non-GMO garden seeds. Even if you don't have enough room to have a garden in your backyard, we have barely an acre here, not even an acre where I live, and we grow a lot of food and we grow a lot of medicine here on my property, and there are ways to do it inside. There is always a way to grow something. You need a variety of things to make that garden grow. You need good soil, you need some good water, and honestly, you need some love. You need to have some love and passion in your garden. I know that sounds a little, I don't know, but I attest a lot of my success in the garden to my passion for growing. I always think about my why, and my why is my family. It's important for me to have good food on my table for my family to grow and flourish. So yes, I thought I'd throw that in there for any new beginner gardeners, because if I would have been told that years back to not get so frustrated at what I'm growing and just use it as a learning experience, take notes, see what's working, see what's not working, learn your soil, talk to your neighbors, maybe talk to your local library or your local master gardener about some things that are going wrong in your garden and some things that you can do to solve that. Don't be afraid to ask for help is the moral of that story. But going back to it, medicinal seeds, non-GMO, I have it linked in my description box, the ones that I use. It's a phenomenal price for the amount of seeds that you get. I got 2 packs of them. Again, you get like 2,500 seeds, and I put one in Mylar, and then I used some to experiment in my garden this summer, and wow, it's looking great. So again, I will list those in my description box. If you want to purchase some, phenomenal. It is an affiliate link, so thank you for supporting the channel in that way. And it comes with a book. It comes with a book of what to do with these seeds, which is super important as well. You can use a lot of these seeds medicinally, and that's what drew me to this product. So I decided to mention that. Again, linked in the description box if you need it. And of course, another thing linked in the description box is my ebook. I just launched it this week, and it has 10 of my tried and true recipes when I am not going to the grocery store. So things that I have on hand that are healthy and filling for my family, that are not going to break the bank. This inflation has affected us in a very negative way, I will say. I'm sure it has to all of you, but it really kicked us when we were already down, and I found that the grocery store is where it was hitting us the most, and I have found some ways around it. Again, we're not perfect. We like to splurge on good food when we can, but honestly, this ebook has really helped me. These are recipes that I make weekly, and I did want to discount it for you, so it's on sale for $3 if you want to get your hands on it. Normally it is $10, so I did want to mention those two things. And of course, on that list, there is not going to be any self-defense survival items. I found that funny as well, but I stock up on ammo. I find it important to be able to protect yourself and your preps for that matter. I often get, why would you share all of this preparedness knowledge, and why would you share that you have food in your house? Because I feel like it's important. That's how I learned. If a neighbor is in need of this food, then they can come have it. I am happy to share it. But if someone is threatening myself or my family or our food sources, of course, I have a way to protect it, and I suggest you do too. But the last thing on that survivalism list that they had was water, and I find that that is the most important prep to have. But you need to be careful. You need to be careful. Our water is being contaminated. Our water is just not a trusted source anymore. So find a way to purify your water. I suggest getting a water filtration system. I suggest finding a way to have large amounts of water stocked up. I myself don't have that. I don't have these giant IBC tanks because we're going to move across the country. I'm not going to invest in this big thing right now, but I plan to have that. And I also would like a way to live off grid. That is eventually our goal. We'd like to live off grid, not be dependent at all on anybody. So having a water source on our new property is very important, and that is a little hard to come by. So that is, something for the future, a hope and dream that I'm praying for. And yes, I suggest everyone have a clean source of water, and in the event of an emergency, a way to store that water and or haul it, a way to get to the water source and a way to haul that water back. Alrighty, my friends, that was last on the list. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative. I'm going to catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.